Next, let's animate on our titles. Our previous After Effects lesson, Type and Music, demonstrated several different techniques for animating type. I think I'd like to go for a cascade to have things spill onto the screen just as the arm reaches a word. So I'm going to focus on this last word, skydiving here, and let's get that to work to my satisfaction. This is the point where the robot arm hits that word. That's where I want my animation to finish. I'll select skydiving, I'll twirl it open, and go animate opacity. Opacity is one of the key ingredients to a cascade recipe. In addition to cascading, I think I'd like these to be slamming down into position. So I'm going to add the scale parameter. Now remember, one of the key things of setting up a cascading recipe is you need to twirl down the range selector, go into the advanced section, and change the shape to either ramp up or ramp down. That's required for a cascading type of animation. I'm going to reduce the opacity to 0, so I see how this is fading off over the course of my selection. Increase scale to something large, maybe somewhere around there. I could play around with this later. And start playing around with the range selection itself. Maybe I only want this animation to go over, say, half of the characters. I'll set it at 50%. For a cascade animation, I need to animate the offset property. Now I do know, at this particular point in time, I want the animation to be completely on. That requires an offset value of 100%. That means transition the entire word on, the animation's done. So I'll set a keyframe there and start thinking about timing for how long I want this word to take to come on. Now, I mentioned before that the timing in between our rhythmic chugs is every second or every 30 frames. And a good timing division are divisions of 2, 15 frames, 7.5 frames. I have a feeling that 7.5 may be pretty quick to bring the whole word on. So for starters, I'm going to try 15 frames instead. I'll press the Shift key, then press Page Up to jump forward 10 frames in time, then press Page Up 5 more frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'm going to set my other offset keyframe. The first offset keyframe should be negative the end, negative your spread between the start and end. So I'll set this to -50, and now my word's completely off. Let's set up a RAM preview, maybe go back to this previous beat at 3 seconds, press B to begin my work area, and choose a nice rhythmic end here, like at 5 seconds. I'm actually going to go 1 frame before. I like to have a loop in my music right through this section, and I don't want to repeat the beat at 3 and the beat at 5. So I'm going to press N at 1 frame before. RAM preview. I like the timing, but I don't like the movement. It's animating from left to right, but the bullet is at the left end of the word. Okay, I think I need to turn this around to get the impact of the arm and the bullet hitting together. Well, that's not too difficult. You might be tempted to think that all you need to do is play your animation backwards. So you can select those, right-click, choose Keyframe Assistant, Time Reverse Keyframes. Well, that doesn't work either, because now they're animating off the screen rather than animating on the screen. That's okay. You have another ramp shape, ramp down. This will reverse the direction of that animation. So in addition to having a reverse timing, we have a reverse direction, and now it slaps down into position. Preview that quickly. Perfect, that's what I'm after. Looks good. Okay, let's make a few more improvements. For one, I like to add blur to my type animations. They just make things look kind of nice and elegant. So do Property, Blur, and I'll increase the blur amount so it's soft as it comes down. Now that I have some blur and opacity going on and a shorter selection, I think I might want to scale it up bigger. So I'm going to increase this in size to make a more dramatic slap down, maybe around there. And there's a couple more adjustments I like to make underneath more options. For one, I want it animating around the center of the characters. To do that, I'll use grouping alignment, and we'll scrub that until things look roughly centered right around there. That looks good, maybe just a touch higher, like there. Finally, to really make this thing pop, I'm going to take advantage of inter-character blending. Since I have overlapping characters, in addition to some nice blur, I'm going to go ahead and use a blend mode to highlight the interaction between the overlapping characters. I'll try Add, and now I've got a nice, bright, hot glow as the characters come down into place. We'll preview that one more time. I like that. It's got some pop to it. Okay, I've animated one line of text. I'd like to animate all the other lines. First thing I'm going to do is trim this layer to begin my first keyframe, so I'm not confused looking at the timeline as to where things start. I'll hold down Option on Mac, Alt on Windows, press left square bracket and trim it. Then with skydiving selected, I'm going to press UU to see what parameters I have edited. This will tell me what parameters I need to copy to my other text layers. I edited grouping alignment. I'll hold Command or Control and also pick intercharacter blending. The whole animator is new, so I'll click on that as well. Transform position is unique to this layer. I don't want to copy that. And source text is unique to this layer, so I don't want to copy those. I just want to copy these three items. At this point, I could go to Effects and Presets and make an animation preset of this particular animation we've just created. Or I could just copy these parameters, Command or Control C, and start to paste it to the other text layers. So I'm going to go a little earlier in time. Okay, our animation takes 15 frames, so let's go 15 frames before this hit. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, look, it times exactly with the servo noise. Perfect. I'm going to press the left square bracket to slide this layer to start at that time, and then Command or Control V to paste. Scrub my time indicator. Perfect. That's what I want there. I'll do this quickly for the other layers. There's that hit. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Left bracket, paste. Go to here. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Left bracket, paste. Double click my work area to now cover the entire composition and RAM preview one more time. Big improvement. The last tweak I'm going to do to my actual movement in this composition is to add motion blur to all the layers that move. To do that, I'll go to the motion blur switch in the timeline panel and turn it on for all of my text layers. Remember, you can click and drag vertically to enable multiple layers, and then I'll do the same for the robot arm pieces. Drag down to get all those pieces. You won't actually see or calculate motion blur until you also enable it for the composition. Now you see the end of my arms blurring, and the text looks even more interesting. However, that can slow down previews. If you find it's slowing you down too much, you can go ahead and disable the motion blur switch while you continue working. Since I have a fairly fast computer here, I'll leave it on because I like how it looks.